Let's talk about some standouts from OTAs this week, including Matt Bushman, Justin Ross, among others. Look at some key takeaways from multiple Chiefs coaches' pressers and talk about the high praise Deneric Prince received and why he may very well make the roster because of it. But first, how about those? Alright, OTAs continued strong this week with the media getting a look on Thursday, as well as the Chiefs social team releasing a few clips themselves to reveal a nice aggressive grab from Sky Moore, a deep ball from Mahomes that was perfectly placed right into the hands of Justin Ross, who took it to the house. And then, of course, all of social media imploded. I mean, the Chiefs social team knows what they are doing with that one. Anyway, the Chiefs then followed up with a much less exciting snag by Justin Watson. It was a clean route, yes, but he couldn't help the fact that the Chiefs decided to show his catch after the other Justin's catch. But moving on, MVS had a solid rep here against Justin Reed, in which he proceeded to jokingly lateral the ball to Mahomes after getting lifted up by Justin. And I'm glad Patrick would, in theory, never try that in an actual game. You could see a clip of several wide receivers catching passes, including Richie James, John Ross, Sky Moore, Rashee Rice, Cornell Powell, among a couple of others. And even Justin Ross dropping this pass. Bad boy. And as far as standouts go from the media there in attendance, Pete Sweeney noted that Justin Reed knocked away a pass intended for Jody Fortson. Mike Dana had an interception off of a tipped pass. Omenihu had a would-be sack on Mahomes, which thankfully he isn't allowed to hit QB1. Rookie cornerback Chamari Connor had a pass breakup against Gabbert in which Matt Bushman had the ball in his grasp, and Connor knocked it away. But even though Bushman didn't snag that one, he still had at least 5 receptions, at least one from every QB, as well as 2 red zone TDs from Shane Buechele. Buechele also had another red zone TD thrown to John Ross, and I like that one. QB Blaine Gabbert also got a Ross involved as he hit wide receiver Justin Ross deep down the field, 40 to 50 yards in the air with what looked like Echo Boydo in pursuit. Another Justin Ross deep ball. Is that going to be a trend this season or what? PJ Green also complimented Matt Bushman and then noted that Justin Ross made a really nice high point catch near the end of practice, and I think it's this photo right here. So there you go. More Justin Ross hype continues. And it's also worth pointing out that these practices are voluntary, so take some of these absences with a grain of salt, but there were like 9 players not in attendance, including Travis Kelce, Blake Bell, Chris Jones, Jerick McKinnon, Isaiah Pacheco, Donovan Smith, Amir Smith-Marset, L'Jarius Sneed, Kadarius Toney, and Turk Wharton. A lot of vets here, but I think Sneed has an injury of some sort, as he was seen out there last week without a helmet on, and then Pacheco and Wharton were probably rehabbing. As a reminder, Wharton tore his ACL last season, and Pacheco had a couple of surgeries this offseason and is still getting back to 100%. And then Spags gave an overview on the progress of some of the young guys so far, saying that Felix Anudike-Uzomah had thumb surgery before the draft, so their looks on him have been pretty limited. Chamari Connor is slowly progressing and made a good play today, which he hopes builds the young man's confidence. Nick Jones has done good things, especially coming from a smaller school in Ball State University. It's a freaking dope name, dude. Ball State, and you're going to play football. BJ Thompson has been really impressive. He's a raw young guy, but they knew that when they drafted him. Spags said BJ stuck out and made a play today as well. Keandre Coburn reminds him of Colin Saunders, an energetic guy full of energy, and per usual, they've been throwing everything at the young guys, and they are all spinning a wee bit with the massive intake of info, but are starting to get a better grasp. He then labeled both Drew Tranquill and Charles Omenihu as terrific, saying, quote, "Both are pros, very intelligent, elevate their positions, and I'm glad we got him. We'll see how we work them all in, but Drew has made a lot of plays so far, and I have seen multiple photos, at least 2, with a Drew Tranquill interception, or what appeared to be a Drew Tranquill interception happening at OTA so far, and I like that a whole lot. And regarding the defensive ends, they're still getting to know Felix, as I mentioned earlier, as well as Omenihu, but it's a bit early to get a full grasp on what they can contribute on the defense right now, and part of that is because there's little to no contact and no pads at the moment, so time will tell there. He then mentioned Malik Herring and Joshua Kando, saying he's hopeful for them to surface as they've been in the system for a while now, but then said it's up to them to take the next step. And I currently do have both of those guys on the outside looking in to make the roster. However, Spags then spoke very highly of the DB room, saying they are light years ahead of where they were last season. The rookies, who are not rookies anymore, have a year under their belt, and there's quite a bit of them. And then, can't forget this, Justin Reed, he was new last year as well and is looking terrific so far. So it's a night and day difference for the DB room at this point right now compared to the same time last year. And speaking of Justin Reid, he tweeted this out after practice yesterday saying, "So great to be a part of a group of men that's willing to put the work in. This team is hungrier than ever, competitive, not combative, iron sharpening iron." And considering the fact that they're coming off of a Super Bowl win and are hungrier than ever, you love to see it. Next up, Matt Nagy complimented Juju and the role he played last year as he developed a great rapport with Mahomes, and he loves the receiver room right now. Everyone is competing and working through the cohesion aspect, getting timing down and into a rhythm with Patrick, which he basically said is the key for replacing Juju's production. And regarding Kadarius Toney, Nagy said, quote, "We all see what he can do when the football is in his hands. He was able to learn quickly upon getting to KC midseason." And then again, Nagy reiterated how talented KT is with the football in his hands. And I found his answer interesting because he was asked about his thoughts on Kadarius Toney being the alleged wide receiver 1 based on offseason reports. And all Nagy really said is that Toney is good with the ball in his hands, and then he repeated it. So that didn't really tell me too terribly much, but oh well. On the subject of the wide receiver room, though, the new wide receiver coach Connor Embry said Rashee Rice is doing great, mentioned that he's got some juice to him, is a bigger bodied guy that we don't really have in our room, which has been good. He then said Sky came back stronger, looks bigger, and understands what's going on at a much greater level. And what I took from that is Sky is going for at least 1,000 yards this season. Okay, maybe not, but you never know. Anyway, overall, Connor has zero complaints about the room as a whole. And then regarding the infamous icon Justin Ross himself, Connor said,
"He worked hard last year in every meeting and all the stuff that everyone else was at. So he kind of got a year under his belt also, just without the playing aspect of it. So it's really up to him. He's got the talent. He's obviously in the NFL for a reason. So it's just like anyone else in the room. They got to go earn it."
And then regarding CEH and the expectations for him this year, Nagy said he's done a great job of focusing on the here and the now and being a leader in the room. Quote, "His attitude has been phenomenal." Running back coach Todd Pinkston also complimented Clyde, saying his frame of mind has been good. "It's totally different this offseason. He's been great as far as the leader aspect goes." And Todd said, quote, "I think he's going to do well for us." And regarding his mindset, they were talking about him being a bit discouraged at the end of last season due to another injury and not seeing playing time and being able to help contribute in the postseason run. But he's hit refresh this year and is definitely helping lead the room, mentoring the younger guys like Deneric Prince, who Pinkston complimented on regarding his aggressiveness and said there's definitely some similarities there between Prince and Pacheco. And even though Pacheco had some offseason surgeries, he's been there and around getting his mental reps in as he continues to rehab and get stronger. On the subject of Deneric Prince, I found this interesting. When asked about potential new returners this year because of Toney's and Pacheco's increased roles in the offense, Tobe immediately mentioned Prince before anyone else, saying he's looking good as a running back there. And Prince reminds him of Knile Davis with so many similarities to him that it's kind of scary. And in regards to kick returns, I took that as a pretty good compliment. Davis was a third-round pick in 2013 for KC, and while he never had more than 463 rushing yards and 6 TDs, which isn't bad considering he was backing up Jamal Charles at the time, he was a menace as a kick returner, racking up almost 2,000 return yards in his career. In 2013, he averaged 32.1 yards per return, and in 2014, he averaged 28.6 yards per return and scored 1 touchdown via a kick return every season from 2013 to 2015, with one of the most electric returns being the opening kickoff of the 2015 wildcard game against the Texans, taking it 106 yards to the house and helping to jumpstart that 30-0 shutout. And I say all that to say this, even though I already had Prince making the roster on my way too early 53-man roster projection, I think this could be the way that he does it as a returner, an RB3 or 4, that's depending on how many running backs the Chiefs opt to keep. The last 4 years of the initial 53-man roster for the running back room, the Chiefs have kept 5 in 2022, 4 in 2021, 4 again in 2020, and 5 in 2019. But those numbers included a fullback, so we'll have to see how it goes there. But the fact that Tobe mentioned Prince first and foremost is definitely noteworthy to me, though it's still early and we'll have to see how things look as time goes on. But definitely let me know your thoughts in the comments if you think Prince may indeed be making the roster. Tobe also mentioned Richie James, saying he's a guy with experience, which is huge and is definitely in the mix as well. John Ross is another guy because of his quick speed. And he also mentioned Sky and Amir Smith-Marset set as some other options. I also wanted to mention that Dave is obviously not happy with the kickoff rule change, though he understands why the league wanted to give it a try for this season, and so his goal is to coach it into an advantage for the team. And he also made it crystal clear that they still plan on returning kicks the majority of the time and will, quote, remain aggressive, which is honestly what I expect a lot of teams to do regardless. And then some good news on the special teams unit as a whole, a unit that got a lot of flack earlier on in the season because of poor plays, muffed punts, bad decisions made, etc. And a lot of that was because there was so much turnover last. Okay, that was a military helicopter flying so low to my house that I'm scared, but I think we're okay. Anyway, a lot of that happened last season because the special teams unit was so young and it took them quite a while to catch on. And we know that last season they finally did, especially for the postseason run. You had multiple great plays on special teams, including the Kadarius Toney punt return in the Super Bowl. So it is good news for the room because this season he said they're already in much better shape, less turnover, more experience as a whole, and he expects things to be better in that room from the jump. He's also excited about Chamari Connor and Nick Jones contributing, and even had this to say about Nazeeh Johnson.
Towards the end of the year, Nazeeh Johnson, as a gunner, he was playing better than anybody in the league. So I'm excited about him. He'll probably be our number one gunner coming in the next year.
And because of that, I'm already adjusting my 53-man roster that said Nazeeh could make the roster to he more than likely will make the roster. Dave has some pull after all, and he needs some gunners on special teams. So we will see as time goes on, but that was a pretty noteworthy compliment / statement from Tobe. Anyway, with all that being said, you guys got to let me know your thoughts on how OTAs are shaping up so far. Who are you most excited about considering what we just broke down from the highlights as well as these pressers? Let me know in the comments down below, and until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?